Racism is a social disease. It's an illness. It's an illness of the mind. It's an illness, as I explain to students and to staff when I in-service them. It's a faulty view of reality. It's a faulty, blinkered view of the world.
When I was 8 years old, I decided to start wearing it forever. And I think it was a good choice, even though I made it so young. And I remember during the first few days when I started wearing it, a bunch of classmates from school started asking me why would I wear that if I'm not Muslim, and that when I told them I was Muslim, they started saying, like, you're not supposed to be, you're white, you're not supposed to be Muslim.
No one should be made to feel ashamed of who they are, and I think that's really what racism is all about, making someone feel small.
It starts from ignorance, a lack of experience, a lack of knowledge. I think in sort of the circular nature of it, I think that perhaps that ignorance, that lack of knowledge, may lead to a stereotyping, which is sort of lumping all the members of a group together and treating them all the same, and I think usually negatively. That can often result in mistrust because people are treating people differently.
The population in general have actually gone overboard in terms of the concern with the SARS, and actually start a process of some backlash against the Chinese population. The fact that a lot of people are trying to avoid in contact with the Chinese population or anybody with a yellow skin, and also avoiding visits to business that are operated by the Chinese or Asians, and also even in an area where it's frequent by a lot of Asians.
The media, of the family, of peers, of the internet, these are the standard ways that hatred and misinformation are spread.
And how insidious it is when even, in our homes, our parents who have not really unpacked the issues, pass on those values that have an underlying racism to them, pass on those values to their children.
One day I was there walking my son, and some bunch of high schoolers, they were making fun of me, of the way I dress. So they were laughing and making funny comments. I didn't bother to answer them or to say anything back. I just looked at them. Like, I meant by my look that they should be ashamed of themselves, and they should not make fun of the way I dress, because it's not so important. The way I behave is much more important than the way I dress. So what they did is they told each other, let's make more fun of her because she doesn't understand a word of what we're saying.
The way they look at me kind of makes me feel bad, and the way they talk to me and stuff like that, and talk to my friends. I don't know why, but maybe they don't know any better or something, or maybe they just hate me.
Perhaps an arrogance, a superiority on one hand, or perhaps a sense of fear on the other, and we hear this from time to time, fear of those who are different, a fear of recent immigrants. That can lead to a prejudging of people, a prejudice about people. When we then act on that negative view of people, we move into the part of the cycle that deals with discrimination or bad treatment, whether it's on an individual level or on perhaps a broader scale, a systemic racism.
But one of my strongest memories is of the day in grade 5 when the teacher, I didn't speak English very well at that point and was just essentially learning the language. And the teacher pulled me up in front of the class and asked me to sing "O Canada" in front of the rest of the class because I wasn't singing it when the rest of the class was singing it, and that was because I didn't know the words. And to this day, that memory still kind of, I don't know, just sends shivers down my spine in that way.
All of those things, they're just killing us, because being racist and being different among some people, it's really bad. It's really, really bad. Even going to work thinking that, oh, okay, I'm happy home, when I go to work, I will have somebody to talk to or be happy with this person during lunchtime. It doesn't happen, you know. You face more trouble, more frustration, and more different feelings about who you are.
Experiments are done, psychological experiments, in which black children were presented with black dolls and white dolls to play with, and they discovered that in very many cases the black children would pick the white dolls. And the reason for that is they have accepted a lower self-esteem and to a certain extent self-hatred, because they have accepted the standards, the attitudes of the racists.
The lack of information, a lack of experience, mistrust, a stereotyping, a feeling of superiority and arrogance and fear, prejudice again, discrimination, and then we have this terrible downward spiral of lack of information and mistreatment against people.
It hurts me to see that society has made the same mistakes over again and racism is happening all over again. The saying that those who don't learn from history are doomed to repeat it, it hurts that people haven't learned from that saying and that society makes the same mistakes over and over again.
And during the Second World War, Jews were especially targeted by the Nazis. They were put in concentration camps, tortured. The concentration camps were like hell, the most evil place that anyone could imagine. And as a result of these concentration camps, approximately 6 million Jews were killed in Europe. This is something that the Jewish people will never forget, but it's also something that the world should never forget. Germany was the home of Beethoven, of Hegel, writers, artists, philosophers. People went to Germany specifically to study because they had one of the best university systems in the world. One would think that their education was so good that that's the last place on earth that this kind of racism would appear, and yet it appeared there. So that teaches us that education is not necessarily a guarantee against racism. We have a lot to learn from this experience, and we all have to try our utmost to see to it that nothing like this ever happens to anybody ever again in the world.